Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
We will start right in and we'll let Judy read first. And if everyone will remember to hold the microphone up near the top. Thank you.
The escape from darkness. The escape from darkness involves two stages. First, the recognition that darkness cannot hide.
Let's stop right there. Suddenly we're talking about darkness and escaping without any preamble. But it is intelligent because darkness is the place from which you begin your journey home. But what is darkness? Darkness is the place where you hide darkness is the place where you hide your most fearful secret from yourself and everyone else. And what you've hidden there is what you discover when you arrive at the bottom of the barrel in your life experience. It's called darkness because it is the place you have chosen to ignore. It is the place where you have refused to bring your attention. And you could say, therefore, the light of you. And what is this most fearful secret that you hide from yourself and everyone else? It is that you're not in charge of anything. It is that you don't have the answer. It is, most succinctly put, the awareness that you are truly incompetent. Now it happens that this is the utter truth. You, on your own, separated from your source, are absolutely incompetent. Now the barrel that you finally end up finding yourself at the bottom of is filled with all of the techniques you have developed to cover up the fact that you're incompetent. You have filled it up with wild imaginations as to your ability and your skill and your capacity to think intelligently and reasonably, and therefore demonstrate that you do have control, that you are competent. The reason you all ultimately end up at the bottom of the barrel is because you can't really pull off the lie. You can't really prove your competence. And as time goes by, as your life passes by, you could say, you lose the rev for proving your capacity. You lose the vigor that you had so easily brought to proving your competency and making your mark in the world. And you have had successive experiences that have demonstrated to you that no matter how hard you've tried, you haven't succeeded at really demonstrating your competency. Mind you, all of what you filled the barrel with to cover up your incompetency involved mutually agreed upon definitions with others who were also engaged in filling their barrel with their competencies and their skills, and the reason there was so much sparring that went on, so much warring that went on, was because part of what was involved in demonstrating your competency was in proving your superiority to others who were trying to demonstrate their competency. You see? Well, sooner or later, and it's better if it's sooner, you come to the point where the war gets tiring, the lack of fulfillment of expectations, just a moment, dampens your spirit, your will to be independent. And a little bit of honesty begins to percolate into your awareness. You decide that struggle isn't worth it. And as you let go of the struggle and sink toward the bottom of the barrel, deeper into the darkness, you finally come to the point where you recognize that you're powerless, that you are incompetent, that you can't control anything. And since you have come to the bottom of the barrel through all of the ego structures you have created, the ego looks at your realization and says, you're a failure. It says there's no reason to live. And if you stay in the ego perspective for very long, as you are observing the truth about you, the ego will distract you from succumbing to the truth about yourself and accepting it. And it will say, there's one last thing you can do to demonstrate that you have control, even though you're a total failure. And that is, you can do yourself in by your own hand. You can kill yourself instead of dying naturally into the blessing, it doesn't say this, but the blessing that awaits you in your acceptance of the truth of this deep, dark secret that you, on your own, are totally incompetent. This last act that the ego suggests is a last attempt at control. Which you have to be willing to dishonor. Because when you arrive at a point of feeling the fact that you are not competent on your own, and you accept it and don't fight against it by engaging in a final act of suicide, you discover an incredible thing: peace. Why? Because now you don't have to go to all the effort you had been going to present this false front of competency. There is great peace in being able to say, I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't live up to your expectations. I can't live up to the expectations I have placed upon myself that I accepted from my parents. I can't be something I'm not. I don't even want to be something I'm not any longer. This constitutes a great release. And in that release comes a joy welling up. Together with an awareness about yourself that in your incompetency as a separated, independent individuality, you're quite holy. You're quite whole. This is the truth that was hidden in the darkness, hidden out of sight in that place you chose to ignore. And this is the beginning of awakening. This is the beginning of the return to your sanity, your whole-mindedness, you might say, not fractured by insane attempts to prove that you are independent and competent in your independence. Let's continue.
I missed the part about how your ego justifies suicide as avoiding recognizing your incompetency. In other words, having come up against suicide, it's the feeling for me was all was lost. I was a total failure.
Yes.
Just like when you're at the bottom of the barrel.
You were at the bottom of the barrel.
Right. Right. And I was saved from that.
Yes.
That act. The interesting thing that I recognize is that suicide is I don't know what the statistics are, but it's a very low percentage of the people in the world commit suicide.
Indeed.
And so that's almost like saying that people don't feel like failures, or they're too afraid to take their own lives. Do you see what I mean? If that's when you say the ego, and the ego is not original, it tries this with everyone. Okay, because I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing that most people have entertained the question of suicide at one time or another.
Yes. Mind you, I said, if you stay too long in the ego's frame of reference, observing this truth, the ego will
I see. So you're saying that if you recognize your incompetency from the ego frame of reference for too long of a period, this suicide thing is what the ego suggests to you to cut it short,
Exactly.
to stop it,
Exactly.
so that it can preserve itself.
Exactly.
So the ego actually knows that there's life beyond death, that is not extinguishing itself, or is it kind of like a kamikaze thing?
No. It's that the ego recognizes that you're getting close to honesty.
I see. And it would rather extinguish itself than have you.
No. It is an act that keeps it alive.
I see. So the ego knows that death is not. There's nothing final about death. It even recognizes that. Or else it would be asking for its own extinction.
No. It has nothing to do with the ego recognizing anything about life or death. It has to do with the fact that the ego's existence depends upon the secret remaining a secret.
So it would rather sacrifice everything rather than give that secret up.
It elicits a consummate act of independence
I see.
as a means of securing its existence. It is its non-existence that it will not tolerate.
I see.
But it has no sense of life or death, of the here or the hereafter.
So again, it's just another insane thing.
Exactly.
It's just another insane. I mean, I'll extinguish myself rather than give up control and face the truth.
No, it isn't even a matter of the focus being on extinguishing oneself. It is a focus on an overt act, as though action based on ignorance constitutes life.
I see. It never gets to thinking, what about what happens after? It is going to...
The ego has no capacity to think, per se.
I see.
It doesn't reason. It is a...
Program.
It is a defense mechanism.
I see.
And it defends itself. That's all it ever does.
I see. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Something.
Yes.
I guess I was thinking that we all commit suicide. I mean, that's what we've been doing. We haven't been dying normally.
In a sense. In a broader sense, that is correct.
So I could see that as giving up, being disgusted and just giving up and not thinking in terms of trying to keep taking care of yourself and going on with life. But anyway, never mind.
Every death is a suicide. It is a decision not to face life. But what we're talking about here is what darkness is. And that it is the place where you have hidden the truth about you that will undo all of your mutually agreed upon definitions and the bondages associated with them, and which will serve as the stepping stone to the return to of your sanity. Simply dying from an illness or old age or whatever description you want to give it is not the same thing as coming to this place where you've hidden the truth about yourself from yourself. Continue.
Where did I leave off, though? I'm incompetent.
This step.
Oh, hide. Okay. This step usually entails fear. Second, the recognition that there is nothing you want to hide, even if you could. This step brings escape from fear.
Yes, you see, when you arrive at that point of recognizing that you're incompetent, and you're looking at it from the ego's vantage point, it is experienced with fear. But then, as it begins to dawn on you that you really can't solve the problem yourself, whatever it is, or you really can't pay the bill because you really don't have the money, a realization occurs that you can't get blood from a turnip, or you can't get water from a rock. And therefore, if you don't have the answer, it isn't necessary for you to have the answer. And you have been suffering from a self-imposed requirement that you always have the answer to everything, which you don't ever have. You see? So when you realize that the realization that you're incompetent, that you don't have the answer, is itself the answer, and that it means that you're not supposed to have the answer, then you can see that there can be no penalty for not having an answer that you were incapable of having. And you realize, my God, all this time I've been trying to do something that's impossible. In that realization, you can abandon trying to do the impossible because it's clear to you that it is impossible. So it says, second, there is the recognition that there is nothing you want to hide, even if you could. You no longer want to hide your incompetence, because it's a jewel of a blessing to you. This step brings escape from fear. Again, because it's utterly clear to you that there can be no penalty for your not being able to do something that you were never created to be able to do. Continue.
When you have become willing to hide nothing, you will not only be willing to enter into communion, but will also understand peace and joy.
Yes. You cannot stay long in the realization of your incompetence without discovering that in your peace and your joy and your newfound awareness of your holiness, you still exist. In other words, the world and you did not come to an end. What you have experienced as need, which you now realize you are incompetent to meet, and that you were never meant to meet on your own, you find yourself wondering, how is this need going to be met? Not, how am I going to figure out how this need is going to be met, but how is this need going to be met? It's just a simple response, and it constitutes a prayer, because you're asking the question, but you're not asking it of yourself. And when that happens, the Holy Spirit responds, your guide responds. Communion occurs. Realization happens. Isolation has been broken. And this is one of the reasons that I'm constantly pointing you in the direction of paying attention to your needs. Not so that you can figure out how to solve them, but because needs are the threshold of clarification. Needs are the threshold of further enlightenment. When you recognize their existence and honor them by not ignoring them and ask for help without, quote, leaning unto your own understanding, unquote. Okay.
The less drastic path to awakening that involves more willingness and less plummeting to the bottom of the barrel. I'm seeing this the same process of realizing my incompetence, and in that I'm seeing that that's where I can see my innocence, because I really can't do anything, so I am innocent. I'm not responsible. And that connects me to the curiosity. I'm seeing this exact same activity going on, only not bringing me to the brink of suicide and not looking really horrible.